Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Raven, who is also Brooke, and in today's video, I'll be talking about storylines that showed us why Vince McMahon was always a horrible person in real life. Now don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and to follow me on all my social media platforms, and remember that this is my opinion. That's my opinion! Nothing in this video I'm saying is facts, so please don't take it as such, and let's just get right into the video. So Vince McMahon first started off in the wrestling world because his father owned WWF, Vince McMahon Sr. And in 1982, that is when he acquired WWE and was its official owner. And that's when he began to expand WWE into different territories. And he was a part of WWE as the owner from 1982 to 2002 until he decided to retire. Mostly people speculate that it is because of pending lawsuits, allegedly. And one is allegedly for sexual assault. Allegedly. So in this video, like I said, I'm going to be exploring storylines that help strengthen my argument that Vince has always been a horrible person, and he definitely used WWE to help, to help act out his urges and desires in front of the whole world, but he played it off as a storyline. So let's get into it. So at number 5, and the reason I'm putting this at number 5 is compared to the other storylines that I talked about, this one wasn't as god-awful as the rest, but it still is pretty god-awful. So it's a storyline where he fought his own daughter, Stephanie McMahon. Yeah. So this storyline started because Stephanie was the general manager of SmackDown, and they were having disagreements about the creative control of the show. And I want to preface this by saying that Stephanie has been in some actually like crazy ass storylines, and it's crazy that her dad approved this and or even helped create these storylines. There was one storyline where her current husband, Triple H, basically her and then married her and exposed it right when she was about to marry Test. She was then crucified and almost married The Undertaker, where she was literally tied to a cross. And there was one storyline that was revealed in the Netflix WWE documentary where Vince wanted to impregnate her. And then when she said no to that, he suggested her brother Shane McMahon impregnate her. So the I Quit match was in 2003 at No Mercy. And this match basically ended with Vince choking her out with a metal pipe. And they just made the match because they were having creative differences. It wasn't even a storyline where they were just having a verbal match with each other. Your idea was to choke your daughter out with a metal pipe. And the reason I use this example is because it has been said pretty much by his kids that he was very tough growing up. And especially for his son, he felt like he always had to prove himself to him. And that was a bunch of storylines for Shane too, where he was literally trying to prove himself to his dad. And even in the documentary, he talked about how he would do these crazy stunts just to get a good job or a hug from him. So the next storyline, which was just, and I'm not even a religious person, but I will never disrespect anyone who is. And he basically did a storyline where he was feuding with God. Like he was acting like he was above God, saying that he is God. And this is the backstory for the storyline. So in 2007, it started when he took his son Shane to a church and then just began criticizing God. And then he began comparing himself to him. And this is a storyline in 2007 with Shawn Michaels. And at that time, Shawn Michaels was a very outspoken, born-again Christian. So it is interesting that he decided to be a part of this storyline because, again, I feel like this is very disrespectful to Christianity. And again, I'm not even religious, but I feel like it's very tacky to disrespect someone like that. And then he even said a line where he was like, well, God created Adam and Eve, but I created Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan, which is just like the worst examples he could possibly use. Because as wrestlers, okay, cool, but as people, he even said that he can't believe God takes off days on Sundays when he doesn't take off days, and that he clearly has a better work ethic. And then when they had their match, Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon in 2006 at an event called Backlash, there was like a spotlight during the match that was supposed to represent God. And the reason I chose this is because obviously Vince looked at himself as kind of someone who is very much untouchable And almost like, because I'm this man with so much money and power, I pretty much am God, and there's nothing that you can do to stop me and to stop me from doing the things that I want to do. And the fact that, and I understand, because I hear a lot, especially in the documentary, when they were talking about very serious things. For example, when Owen Hart tragically passed away while on air at a match, and Vince said that he chose to have the show go on. I have very, 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 very mixed feelings about the phrase business is business, because at the end of the day, these are people who are putting their bodies on the line 24/7 without even health insurance. That is actually insane to me. The fact that wrestlers don't have health insurance in their contracts is actually, that's like the one thing I would think is in their contracts. WWE has all this money. You're telling me that y'all can't even pay for their health insurance? Like, that's actually kind of evil, low key. Like, that's insane. So with this storyline, this actually isn't a storyline. This is something that just went so off script because Vince McMahon is just a two-faced ass person who really only gives a fuck about money and not the people who are making him his money. And this is the Montreal screw job. And this is very infamous in the wrestling world. A lot of people talk about this day in and day out. So here's what happened. So this was in 1997 at Survivor Series, and this was a match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. And at this time, Bret Hart was leaving WWE to go to its rival, WCW. And at that time, WCW was a very popular wrestling company. They were literally taking viewers away from WWE, and they were the most high-rated wrestling program. And also at this time, Bret Hart was the WWE champion. And Vince obviously did not want him to go out with the WWE championship. So he suggested that he does a match to give it to another wrestler. The issue was that Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart actually had real life tension between each other. So obviously Bret is like, I don't want to give my championship to someone where in real life I genuinely do not like them. Like, I think they're an asshole, basically. And Shawn Michaels even admitted himself, like, at that time he was not the most pleasant person, and Bret said that Shawn just went below the belt a lot and accused him of like having affairs with women, even though he was a married man at that time with a family, when they would have like on-air segments and just go off script, basically. So there was an agreement that the match would end with a double disqualification or a no contest brawl, which meant that basically no one technically is winning the championship. However, Vince screwed the out of Bret Hart. So in the match, Hart had put Bret into like his sharpshooter move, and Bret was not tapping out. And then even the referee was like, oh, like, are you tapping out? Bret never did, but the referee still rung the bell. And even when you watch the video, he got out of that ring very fast, almost like he knew some shit was going to go down, because why would you do that? I did not tap out. And then that's when Bret began to realize that he got screwed, and he spit right into Vince McMahon's face. And based on the documentary again, Shawn Michaels and Triple H did know that the Montreal Screwjob was going to happen, and that it is alleged that the referee knew it was going to happen. So in that moment, the reason that I included it, even though it's not a storyline, is because it just shows again, I understand that business is business, and at the end of the day, you have to make money. But when you have people again that are putting their bodies on the line every day for you to become rich, it's just it's evil as hell to then screw that person on live television. Mind you, the pay-per-view was in his hometown, and rightfully so, the whole stadium just booed. And it just showed how Vince really looks at life as if he can really just do whatever he wants to do. Everyone is expendable to him. Everyone is just a dollar sign to him. Everyone is someone that can do a favor to help him further in his career. Now, with these last two storylines, the reason I chose these is because I feel like this very much almost shows foreshadowing into the lawsuits that Vince faced, especially against Janelle Grant and the things that she alleged in her lawsuit. And again, TV really did end up mimicking real life. So with this first storyline, it is going to connect to my top one storylines, I should say, as to why Vince McMahon pretty much showed us his hand while on television. But this is the storyline between Vince McMahon and Trish Stratus. Now, with this storyline, Trish Stratus was basically now, also, before I talk about this, Linda McMahon was a very essential key player, especially in that attitude era, ruthless era of WWE. And she was in many storylines with Vince McMahon. In this particular storyline, he's cheating in front of his wife while she's in a wheelchair with Trish Stratus. Like, he ended up kissing Trish Stratus while his wife was literally in a wheelchair in front of them. And, Trish said that, Linda was very cool with it. I'll get to that later. But basically there's a segment where Vince and Trish were in the ring, and Vince was just not happy with Trish's status. So he decides to have this woman get on her hands and knees and bark like a dog on live television. And to make it worse, he makes her strip down to her underwear on live television. And if that does not show a whole parallel to all the sexual assault, sexual harassment lawsuits that Vince has been a part of, then I don't know what to tell people at this point. Like, this man, basically, I've seen a lot of people say that Vince was never playing a character. Like, the character Mr. McMahon was never a character. That was who that man was truly in real life. And how anyone just can't see that, I don't know, but that's who this man was. So after that is when, and like, again, what's disturbing me a little bit more is just how far this man was going to go just for fucking entertainment. Like, you're sitting here and telling me that you wanted to have a storyline where you impregnate your daughter for entertainment. And the fact that there's a clip where she was talking about this back in the day, and the fact that no one just thought to raise an eyebrow as to why there's just so many things that you could do to have good TV. Instead, you choose that as a suggestion. Okay. And now when I talk about my number one storylines, and the reason I keep saying storylines is because they're all storylines that involve Vince having an affair with a woman. While on TV and in real life, this man is married. And he would be so degrading to these women on air. Mind you, these women signed up to be talent, to be wrestlers. And the reason why I feel like this WWE evolution is so important is because it's just so jarring to me that now women are rightfully looked at as athletes in comparison to their male counterparts. But I do feel really bad for women who came before this WWE evolution, and even before kind of like 2004, I want to say. And even after 2004, like, he still was treating women wrestlers as just sexual objects. Like, even that segment that happened with Lita and Edge, where they basically began to have sex in the middle of the ring while kids watch. And it's just, where is the entertainment? Again, I understand this is TV and you want good ratings. The Attitude Era and the Ruthless Era was very successful. But at the end of the day, this shit is about wrestling. Why do you keep trying to push an envelope for something? Like, it would be different if it's like a soap opera. This is wrestling at the end of the day. Why? So a few female wrestlers that had on-screen relationships with Vince McMahon include Candice Michelle, Sable, Tori Wilson, and Stacy Keibler. And with these storylines, again, Vince was really showing who the hell he is, because it was a storyline where Stacy Keibler was applying to be his assistant, and to get the job, she had to do basically like a sexy dance on a desk for him. With Tori Wilson, it was implied that she had to do extra favors to become a WWE superstar. And then Candice Michelle basically became someone who was like his personal pleasure that everyone knew she was. And with Sable, that was a very interesting storyline, because Sable sued the WWE for $110 million, citing sexual harassment and unsafe work conditions. But then she came back in 2003, and then she began like a relationship with Vince McMahon, and it was all just to basically piss off Stephanie McMahon. And even when they had that I Quit match, Sable was on the side of Vince while Linda McMahon was on the side of her daughter. And I look at Linda McMahon, because obviously we know now this man had many affairs with people. And again, I understand money is money. But to sit here and just watch her husband be blatantly disgusting to women, and to just be okay with it, and to be a part of the storylines, is almost kind of demented. And I'm very surprised a lot of people don't look at her sideways a lot for that. But she a part of the Trump administration, so... All in all, with this video, I just wanted to point out how the signs of Vince McMahon being an awful ass human being has always been there in front of our faces. I just feel like the issue is that, and this is something that I've noticed a lot about all these men who were popular for years and years, who are just now being punished for the things that they did, the evil ass they did. And it's interesting how the media in the world just was back then, and how, yes, there were some people that called it out, but there was never any punishment for it. There were never enough eyebrows raised as to why does Vince want to push so hard for this Mr. McMahon character? Why does he push the boundaries so much with this character? And then the answer is because this is who this man is in real life. He just now gets to use the excuse of a script to now be who he actually is. And again, it's really astonishing that no one just picked up on it, and it never became these big stories like they are now. Basically, like, you have all these stories now titled "The Times Looking Back" in WWE, where Vince was showing signs, and it's like, well, where were you guys in like 2003, 2002 when he was doing the most disgusting things, having the most outrageous ass storylines? Some of them were crimes. Like, this had Triple H basically necrophilia in an actual funeral home. Like, this man has no morals. He only gives a about money and himself, literally. And it's very sad that no one caught on, or no one spoke up soon enough, I should say, to at least get this man out of the limelight, get this man out of the company. And I hope that more people begin to speak up more and more, so this man never even has a chance in hell of ever having any type of career in any aspect in life. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and to always keep it cute, fab, and fun. And I will see you guys in the next video.